The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is proudly presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook by using promo code RTRS, and brought to you by LL Pavorsky Jewelers, where Rights to Ricky Sanchez listeners go and get engaged. Mortgage CS, become a Mortgage CS Ricky VIP by going to mortgagecs.com/Ricky. And the Ricky is also brought to you by Kinetic Skateboarding, where you can get all of the cool Ricky 10-year anniversary merch right now. On the show today, James Harden opted in. However, not for the reason we had previously thought. In fact, James Harden opted in because he wants to get traded. So now Daryl Morey, once again, will try to trade a Sixers point guard who does not want to be here. I did mention Kinetic and the Ricky 10-year anniversary stuff. We have a print and a long sleeve t-shirt. The prints are limited to 250, done by Abby, who has put 47 crazy Sixers and Rights to Ricky Sanchez references in the print. That is for sale, as well as our first ever long sleeve tee, which is for sale as well. You can either go to kineticskateboarding.com and search Rights to Ricky, or the link will be in the description of this pod. Without any further ado, Amos and the Chef.
We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We was right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We were right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. Say the name.
Welcome to the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast. I'm Spike Eskin, along with a guy who is extremely upset at the way in which the Sixers have handled his possible free agency, and he has made his dissatisfaction clear to the organization. That is one Mike Levin. You are muted.
My bad. I've definitely made my dissatisfaction clear for a long time.
Yeah, for a really long time.
That's definitely true.
So
we're here. We're alive.
Start? Yeah.
We got stuff. We got a
lot of stuff. I could not, I said a bunch of times, as I said, two different things leading up to this moment. One, that I believe James Harden would be coming back to something like a 3-year deal, and I believed it was inevitable.
Yeah, and I was less certain of that.
Yep. But also that, and I truly, repeatedly said, I do not want him back under any circumstances, and I would be thrilled to be wrong that he is not going to be back. Mm-hmm. And I sit here thrilled, a little, as surprising as the end result was as it started to evolve. I guess I'm a little less surprised than I thought I would be if you had told me this a month ago, as the market sort of dried up for him. And I think it's possible that if we don't get a very quick solution, we could be in for a bit of a long process here in getting him traded. So what was your first gut reaction when you saw it?
Well, it's very interesting. I think something could either happen in the next couple hours,
yes,
which would render this podcast extremely out of date very quick, or it could be another Ben Simmons situation where Daryl waits as long as it takes to extract proper value out of the stuff. The fact that there is a deadline of July 1st, which for us is in 13 hours, of the previous cap year, the previous CBA agreement, gives it a fun wrinkle and a fun clock on it, where Daryl, if someone wants to trade for Harden and they want it under the previous CBA, they got to come correct with the best offers like quickly. And I like that as a power play. I like that as like leverage. I thought it was we were heading this way, there, as we talked about last podcast, maybe there doesn't seem to be a market for him. There aren't many teams with cap space to sign him outright. And as I've been saying, I just don't think that the Sixers could possibly look at what happened in those last few games of the playoffs and go, yeah, here's as much money and here's as many years as you want. Also, we're bidding against ourselves. Like it just didn't make sense to me in any way that they would just give him all of it, and without another team coming in, as Houston became less and less likely, that the Sixers would go give him whatever he wanted. And it's natural to assume, although it's pretty funny that I don't know how much you've read. I know you're on a little vacation situation here, and you can tell based on the star behind you that it's an Airbnb. It's a classic
It's not
Airbnb.
Not Airbnb.
Oh, interesting. Well, then they're robbing from Airbnb style design, because that starfish is very Airbnb. The more apparently the more excuse to Harden, what is being reported of why they couldn't negotiate sooner, which definitely means like, hey, go test your market, see what you got. Is like, hey, remember how we got those tampering charges and lost those second round picks? Like, we're just not gonna. Unfortunately, we're not going to be talking until the free agency opens up officially. And Harden and his people, rightfully so, being like, well, fuck that. What are you talking about? Like, just you talk to us. So I find that funny. I find that maybe unlikely. Regardless if it's true, I find it pretty fun.
Well, it's a funny nugget to give whatever reporter, Sam Amick, I think, asked him for it. I think it's probably informative to read of all that I've read. And I read your own Weitzman's thing. Of course, I read the Woj stuff. I listened to some of the Sham stuff. I think the Sam Amick Kelly Eco, I don't know how to say Kelly's last name, story on The Athletic was the most sort of in-depth, and did seem to, a lot of it probably came from the Harden side, but it did seem not entirely disingenuous. So just a couple of things here.
You read the Sam Amick piece and Kelly Eco piece, and it comes across like, well, that's Harden's perspective.
Yes.
And then you read your own Weitzman's piece, and you're just like, well, that's the Sixers' perspective.
Sure.
It's very interesting to just read the same thing. I read them back to back and was like, these are different circumstances for the same situation.
So it says in the Athletic piece by Sam Amick, according to sources directly involved in the situation on both sides, the Los Angeles native wants to play for the Clippers, and the Sixers are already in the process of discussing his desired move. Harden is, according to sources very close to him, extremely upset at the way in which the Sixers handled his possible free agency, and has made his dissatisfaction clear to the organization. Two more quick clips here. While it seems likely that he'll land with the Clippers, it remains to be seen whether his longtime basketball partner, Sixers president of basketball operations, Daryl Morey, will grant this unexpected wish. Sources say, however, that there is strong optimism on Harden's side that it will indeed happen. Optimism or hopefulness, I guess. Both Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are said to be on board with the idea of Harden potentially joining their core, according to sources. No matter the reasoning, Morey's choice to keep Harden and his camp in the dark regarding the Sixers' plans had everything to do with Harden's choice to ask out. And as Morey knows, perhaps better than anyone, the prospect of keeping Harden against his wishes, as the Rockets and Nets can attest, is unpleasant at best and untenable at worst. A deal with the Clippers may be the only way to salvage this messy situation. And your own piece sort of came off a little more opinion, but obviously sourced opinion, and like, what does James Harden even want? He talked about sacrificing. He doesn't really want to sacrifice. Yeah. He wants to say he's sacrificing and not quite sacrifice. I think, honestly, I give Morey credit in that I think when Harden did take less, which, by the way, was the market, as it turns out. The market, it was probably more than the market, but took less. I think Harden was just expecting, no matter what happened, to get a giant offer. But I think the thing that Harden did that was a little unfair, that probably gave Morey more leeway to tell him, and probably more need to tell him, like, okay, then go get an offer, is this bullshit started at Christmas.
Yeah.
with the Houston rumors.
Yeah.
And if Harden trusted Morey that much to give him, come correct with an offer that may have been a little more than market, but fair considering the situation, if you want to put it that way, then you don't start this bullshit in December that you're going to go back to Houston leaking to everyone who will listen to you,
Yeah, of course.
So, I thought it was just, I thought both reporting, I thought Yaron's piece was fair. And I actually thought Sam Amick's piece was fair in that, aside from the keeping him in the dark thing, it was mostly just about Harden, how Harden felt about the entire thing. I thought they were both fair, but this seems like the best solution for both, assuming they can come up with a deal.
Yeah, there's so much to talk about with this situation, because like we can talk about like possible trade proposals.
Yep,
after this, but like
yep.
This is a relatively good result so far for both sides. Harden looked at who has cap space in free agency and decided, I don't want to go to the Rockets don't want to give me as much as I want. I don't want to go to the Spurs. I don't want to go to the fucking Kings. Whoever that he had decided, like, none of these teams are interesting me, and the Sixers has become untenable. Then the opt-in and trade me allows Harden to then essentially at least have a hand in picking where he goes, and the Sixers to recoup something back for him that isn't him, because we all, or a lot of people, feel it's time to move on, and sort of running it back after last season, after what happened in Game 6 and 7, would just be, walking into a pit of doom. And so we get to at least there's a couple days of juice of something good could happen. Alyssa did a pretty mean impression of me walking around looking at my phone after this news broke, doing like, well, maybe this time my little team's going to do something good, which was a solid hit on me. But it was pretty mean. So there's the possibility is open that something good could happen. And I think the market isn't high for him. And I think he feels disrespected by that. He might be blaming all of it on Daryl, because Daryl's his guy. They've had such a large amount of experience together. He brought him to Philadelphia. There was probably some sort of handshake deal type thing that allowed Harden to take less money, even though looking at the market now, for sure he wouldn't get more than that now in the open market. It's strange to me that the best case scenario for Harden is, because he's not extension eligible now that he's picked up his option, so he will be playing out this expiring contract and go into unrestricted free agency next year as a 35-year-old, which is gonna, on the one hand, could limit his value in a trade, but on the other hand, because of the new CBA thing, especially today, could make his value higher. There's a lot of competing. Each team that he could potentially go to would have different perspectives on like the contract situation and their own salary cap situation in regards to the new CBA. But I think we won't ever probably know what really happened as far as like Harden, and there might be different understandings of it. Morey bringing Harden here, Harden accepting what seemed like a below market deal, a team friendly deal, and then the reports, like you said, of Houston. He's sacrificing all the sacrifice he's doing. He's not seemingly loving to play Joel ball, whatever. Even though I can disagree with like it's not like he was moving on. Like, what else was there? I don't know. To me, there was not a difference between pick and roll, pick and pop Joel at the nail from Harden, like isolation driving into people and shoving the ball in their chest. But I think the idea of Daryl holding his ground a little bit is interesting, and beats some of the he wants to have a 10-year high school reunion with all these guys from Houston that he knows and loves and just bring the gang back together allegations.
Yeah, and by the way, he had earned, I think, those allegations, but I think this off season, I think he has
no D'Antoni.
Yeah, no D'Antoni, even though on some level Nick Nurse's band back together, but not the band back together that we didn't
different
want.
Kind.
The band,
yeah,
different kind. And I have one more thing on Harden's view of all of this. But first, we will talk about our presenting sponsor, DraftKings Sportsbook. I actually have not looked, and where I am, I don't think I actually can look at the odds. What happens with the futures with all this? I wonder if they take everything down.
Oh,
But
I assume they would. Yeah.
yeah. But there, you might not be able to bet. I'm sure you can bet basketball futures, but you can bet baseball. And right now, DraftKings Sportsbook is the place to bet baseball. Use code RTRS. Bet $5 to score $150 in bonus bets instantly. I have trouble with that word all the time. Bonus bets instantly. Plus, of course, you know about the same game parlays, but DraftKings has stepped up same game parlays. That's right. That's when you take a parlay that is less than your value, assuming that you're going to get more value. No, I'm just kidding. Stepped up same game parlay. Here's what you do. You open up the DraftKings Sportsbook app. You place your parlay by combining 3 or more bets from the same game. Make sure you opt in, and then every additional leg gets you an extra boost up to 100%. DraftKings Sportsbook. Step up to the plate now with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the app and sign up with code RTRS. New customers get bet just $5 to score $150 in bonus bets instantly. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with promo code RTRS. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Got to be 21. See show notes for details. One other thing on Harden's sort of lack of awareness of where he is in his career, which it is usually something that seems to happen with baseball players more than basketball players. It seems like basketball players, as they get into this part of their career, if they're going to continue to play, more and more they do the, okay, I'll be an extra piece on a place where I can win something. It seems less that they think they're the guy after the time which they become. After the time, they're not the guy anymore.
Yeah.
Harden does seem like he does not quite get where he is at his career to a certain extent.
Well, there's the Iverson, Monte Ellis, and obviously not as good, but like those kinds of players that like couldn't adapt to the new reality. And then there's the Vince Carter, Jason Kidd, that kind of different guys that became role players later into their careers. The other thing I'm thinking of is how Daryl wants to play this. Yeah. Where his reputation, and not his personal reputation, I don't think he gives a fuck about that, honestly. He's a bizarre guy. He doesn't mind the criticism. But I think he wants the Sixers to have the reputation of team that is good to superstars.
Players. Yep. I think a lot of teams want
for
that.
sure. But I think almost nobody more than Daryl will care about that, because he knows his guiding ethos, and the ethos that he then like passed down to Hinkie and stuff was like, you gotta give a fuck about superstars more than anything else, and they have to be happy and want to come here. So I don't know how, like, this is a James Harden trade request. This is a James Harden opt-in and trade request. So how like I think priority number 1 is getting a return on this trade that nets a better future for the Embiid and hopefully Maxey pairing. But I think a pretty close second is not alienating the league at large and the 2 or 3 dozen superstar types that talk and that don't want to feel like the Sixers did Harden dirty.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too, I agree with that. And you don't, whereas he would have been willing, I think everybody looked at the Ben Simmons situation and was like, nah, that's kind of fucked, man.
Yep.
Like what Ben Simmons did, like making him sit is different than making Harden sit.
Yeah.
However, the only other thing I'd say is that this is the 3rd time James Harden has done this. And like the truth is that we talk about players demanding out. We talk about it a lot more than it actually happens. Like it's really sort of it's not as big a group as you would think it is, all things considered, especially out of winning situations. And James Harden has now opted out, like demanded a trade out of 2 winning situations, like at least potentially winning with Brooklyn and then winning with Philadelphia. So I don't think that means, and Sam Amick said it in his piece, obviously it was awful in Houston where he wanted to get traded and they didn't trade him right away. He started with the team and then he quickly devolved, and there was fat suit Harden, all that kind of stuff. And then there was Nets, I'm not going to play Harden. But I do think Harden is sort of at this point where Morey has probably earned a little bit of benefit of the doubt in how is that maybe Harden doesn't get exactly what he wants when he wants it, as much as a player who is more in the prime of his career who hadn't already done this twice.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly feel like if Morey is treating Embiid, rightfully so, like he treated Harden, 8 years ago, whatever. Yeah, you just can't. He's not that guy anymore, and he was very good during the regular season in the role that he had to play to both make the Sixers more efficient and himself look more efficient. Because if he was still playing James Harden 2016 basketball today, and Embiid was standing there or rim running like he's Clint Capella, whatever, Harden would not have been as successful at that.
Right.
He couldn't. His body wouldn't be able to hold up doing that much stuff. You take Maxey out, like put Maxey off the bench, and it's Harden and Melton and Dan House and PJ and Embiid. So it's just guys that are shooting to stand there and defend and do whatever Harden needs him to do. It just wouldn't have worked. He's not that good anymore. And he can do it once in a while, as we saw in 2 games in the playoffs, which is great. And I'm sure when Daryl is on the phone with these handful of teams we can discuss, that he's highlighting that and just saying like, oh, the reason that's not going to work out is because we're going to give Maxey the ball more, and Harden just didn't want to deal with that, and Joel Embiid. So, but he's still good, and he's still whatever it is. He's I'm sure highlighting that stuff, but it's an untenable situation. I really didn't want to go back into the season with Maxey and Harden as the 1-2. I'm way higher on the idea of Maxey and whoever we get for Harden taking more ball handling abilities, more creation abilities, than I would be going all in on like a Harden Embiid trading Maxey for some veteran second tier star type, and really like going in for these like last 2 years and then it just being a pile of dust. So I'm definitely happy in this situation, but yeah, there wasn't the likelihood, and things devolve so quickly that once it starts to feel bad, and you can look around the league at various things that started to feel bad, including maybe the Dame situation. Once it starts to, it ends pretty quickly after that. Yeah. Because people don't want to go all in for a team that they don't feel respected by. They don't want to like commit themselves to something that they don't feel like is good for their career long term. Like, I think this is a different situation than the Simmons thing, in that Harden is well significantly older than Simmons. I don't think he's going to want to either sit out his age 34 season, and I don't think Daryl's going to want to make him do that. I think Harden has earned a level of respect around the league that Ben didn't. And Daryl cares about how that's treated. So I definitely do not think, and this is not me sourcing anything, but my assessment is like, this is going to get done pretty soon. I don't think it's going to go into the season for sure.
Well, I mean, thankfully, I don't want it to go into the season. I do think, as you mentioned before, and Kyle Neubeck has a good article about what the differences are between trading him on the 30th and trading him after the 30th.
Yeah.
Like for some teams, it's not that big a deal but it's not the hugest deal in the world, but it does limit you in ways. And I recommend anyone who is interested in that, go read Kyle's article on it. And the other thing I'd say about where the Harden thing ended was, I feel the same as you, in that I am more looking forward to whatever the solution is for this year than I would have looked forward to watching the Harden thing. I am like, as I had mentioned, and I couldn't have been more clear. I couldn't. I just knew they weren't going to win a championship with Harden. I couldn't watch it again. I couldn't see what he did in those closing games.
Yeah.
The place where I'm a little bit different is I am less optimistic about, like, I'm okay sort of going into the darkness here because I'm a little less optimistic about Maxi's potential as a lead guard. And I think that Maxi actually benefits from having a real point guard on the floor with him, which is where I'm curious to see where they end up going. And this, we'll get into the actual trades in a second, but what they end up with, and like, there's a lot more. There could either be a very little bit of dealing that they do going into the season, or there could be a lot more dealing now that Harden's not going to be there. And I think that I think Maxi benefits playing with a real point guard than he will being tasked with being a real point guard.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be growing pains, and we'll see what the trade ends up being. But if the scenario is believe in Maxi as a point guard, believe in him taking lead ball responsibilities, growing into it, adding a little more hesitation to his handle so he can be a 3-level scorer, and learning how to like manipulate the defense into getting open looks for his teammates. If there's that reality, and then there's the choice where you go like, I think he's basically just like a souped up sixth man, and I don't think that he's ever gonna be good enough to do that kind of stuff. I take the first one every day of the week. I think he's young. He's gotten so much better each year. He's got the most work ethic fucking Doc Rivers has ever seen. Not a guy that is throwing compliments at young people all the time. And
also not a guy that knows much about work ethic, but
that's, well,
yeah.
But I just trust him, and I want to see it. And I think that if, we can talk about some of the trade possibilities where like some of that creation load is shared, so that not just for his development, but so that he can work off ball a little bit, because he is obviously such a good catch and shoot 3-point shooter. We need to see it. I'd rather not give up on this high energy, high work ethic, athletic, like guy who's getting better on the defensive end. He just, I'm not saying he's going to be a multi-time All-Star, although I think there's definitely a chance that he could. But that is a gamble I'm willing to make.
Sure. I hear that. And it's not an impossible gamble. And by the way, we'll see whether they make that gamble. But to your point about Maxi and the work ethic does sort of like lend credence to every time that I thought he had peaked, he had not peaked.
Yeah.
Right. So, and he's certainly still young enough to add things to his game. So we'll see. All right. So we'll talk about the teams that could be involved in this and the potential trades right after we talk about Mortgage CS. Mortgage CS. What does CS stand for? Concierge Service. What they do, what Mortgage CS does, and go to mortgagecs.com/Ricky to learn more about Mortgage CS. They're a mortgage broker, and they are an independent mortgage broker. So the difference between a lender and a broker is the lender gives you the money, but a broker goes and finds the best rate for you. They go and find the money for you. And it's important that Mortgage CS is independent, because a lot of mortgage brokers have deals with banks that you don't know about, right? You don't look that deep. So they may have a different motivation than making sure that you get the best rate. They may have financial incentive to lead you toward a bank that may benefit them, but that isn't Mortgage CS. They are independent. They are informative. They're good people. They are local. Everything that you want, Mortgage CS is. They're also responsive. Anytime you need your Mortgage CS rep, and I'm going to give you the phone number for their CEO, Ben. It is a cell number. You can get them at any time, 267-391-7425. At any time you need Mortgage CS, they will be there for you. Whether you need a pre-qualification letter on a weekday night, whether you have a question on a weekend morning, whether you want to know what they think about James Harden trade situations, they are always available for you. Again, go to mortgagecs.com/Ricky. So many Ricky listeners have let us know about their experiences with Mortgage CS, and it's always great. They take a high pressure situation and make it low pressure. Again, mortgagecs.com/Ricky, or call or text Ben at 267-391-7425. This advertisement is not a commitment to lend or extend credit. Mortgage CS is an equal housing opportunity mortgage broker. All loans are subject to credit approval. Certain restrictions may apply. Company NMLS 1464766. Visit mortgagecs.com/Ricky for more information. So the potential trade destinations that we've heard about. The loudest one has been the Clippers. The Knicks have also been mentioned. And then there is the Suns, who apparently, and I forget where I read it, were interested earlier on in the process, and then there wasn't any traction, and then it went away.
And Harden was interested prior to the Beal.
Correct. So
also I've seen Miami, just to add.
Oh yes, Miami. So as far as the there have been, I think, a lot of sort of like unrealistic trade proposals out there, as there are every year for Tobias. Like we'll just get this great player for Tobias or that great player. I don't think there's any world in which the Clippers are saying we will give you Paul George for James Harden. Do you?
I do, yeah. I do think
Really?
it's possible. I do. I think that the reports of not wanting they've run this Paul George, Kawhi Leonard course for years now, and it hasn't they're just not healthy at the same time. They just haven't been able to do it. And so with them both being extension eligible over the next few months, I think the idea of trading one of them for a guy who's the best, passing guard in the league right now, or one of them, is something that could I think it's really frustrated Ty Lue over the course of the season.
Yeah.
How unavailable those guys have been. And you know me, I'm not an availability guy, but Ty Lue is, and that's fine. So if it's Harden and Tobias, and it becomes this huge trade to the Clippers, a little homecoming of sorts for Tobias, who obviously played there under our friend Doc.
We didn't get a chance because we haven't done a pod to talk about the assassin
the
scorer.
crumble. Yeah, the assassin scorer and the crumble cookie. It's been a lot of very newsy item. I mean, pretty brilliant on Tobias's part as a promotional aspect of crumble cookie, which he invests in.
Yep.
So I think that it is possible. And Paul George, who always just sort of seems young, is the same age as Harden.
43.
They're like a couple months apart. So, and
would you do that straight up? Do you do that?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Okay.
for sure. 100%.
I'm
Yeah.
asking. Yeah.
No. Yes. Immediately. No takebacks. Yes.
Okay.
But if it becomes more of like a Harden and stuff, or we have to so they just waived Eric Gordon, who's a good player that they traded stuff for, that I figured would be part of in a Harden scenario, would be part of any, like, he's a perfect guy to be there. They've obviously played together. He is a great catch and shoot player from distance, and he's pretty sturdy in the defensive end. They waived him for obviously money concerns, not unfounded ones, because of the cap situation they would have had to pay. They basically saved $100 million by waiving Eric Gordon because of how much they would have put them over the apron and stuff. So it's not a even though Steve Ballmer is very rich and they have this new arena coming in a couple years, it's not a concern money wise. They are not untethered from the idea of we don't have like an unending well of money. And so if they think we can't get Paul George or Kawhi Leonard, by the way, could be Kawhi. I don't think it is, but it could be Kawhi instead of.
Who would you rather have?
I would probably there'd be something pretty fucked up about acquiring Kawhi Leonard to have Nick Nurse coach him in Philadelphia.
Oh yeah,
it would be a little unpleasant.
Funny,
but it'd also be funny. It would be interesting. I think that they probably value Kawhi more, rightfully so. Obviously his peak as a player is higher. Paul George just fits really perfectly nicely within a Maxey Embiid core. The three of them just like. It just makes sense. It's like a little paint by number of like, you need this kind of guy, and here's this kind of guy right there. He can play on ball. He can play off ball. He can defend. He's athletic. He's big. He is getting older, and he is pretty injury prone at this point. I mean, for his whole career, he's dealt with stuff. But I think he would be an excellent, perfect fit. He wouldn't have to be the number one. He wouldn't have to like be the primary ball handler, but the kind of like Jimmy Butler stuff you can do while also being an excellent catch and shoot 3-point shooter, and a willing defender, all that stuff. So it would be really nice if this happened. On the Clippers side, they're saying, and who knows if it's real? Who knows? One of these teams is going to be used as leverage. Clippers seem like the most likely real team. The Knicks seem more leveragey. We can talk about the Knicks in a second. But one of the articles I read was like, Kawhi and Paul George look forward to James Harden as the third star in their triumvirate. And I think maybe your own piece said, they'd love to trade like Norm Powell and Marcus Morris for Harden. And it's like, okay, well, that's not going to happen. So I think especially if they care about this deadline, the later we get into the night of June 30th tonight, finally it becomes like put up or shut up. Do we want James Harden? Do we want to have like an expiring Paul George that we don't want to extend? Because the other thing is like you can get the market for Paul George will be higher than the market for James Harden, for sure.
Without question.
For sure. Even though he's about the same age and injury prone, it's just like a guy that you can fit really anywhere. He'll be able to get a ton of money, even if the years aren't as high. Mm-hmm. And Harden just seems older and plays older and you have to then center your entire
fit is the way to put it. You could put a player like Paul George, theoretically you could put on any team in the NBA.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So I'm interested to see it. I'm interested to see what happens. If they trade Harden, so there's the option is you can do Harden and stuff for Paul George and stuff. I would love it. Obviously, would love a scenario where Robert Covington comes back home. I think that's a real strong possibility, even maybe probability in any Clippers trade, because he was like pretty out of the rotation there, and Daryl obviously loves him, and Embiid obviously loves him, and that might be a fun like nugget of a return to just like satisfy Embiid. Finally, Embiid gets some of his friends back. Harden got plenty of his. Justin Anderson is available if anybody wants to grab him. But you do the Harden and Tobias there, or it becomes just Tobias there, and then it's the like, because they seem to want Tobias. Then it's the like Norm Powell, Robert Covington, Marcus Morris, some combination of those guys, and then Harden goes to one of these other teams. It's really very interesting. I don't think the Sixers will feel immediately compelled to trade Harden to the Clippers for not the best possible return. So if they're doing that, then it would require a ton of picks, and the Clippers are down some picks. I don't think that they want to trade. The Clippers don't seem to want to trade Terrence Mann. There's, Bones Highland. There's guys that Amir Coffey is interesting to me, but like I think knowing Daryl, he has a star. He wants a star back. I don't think he's in any scenario ideally trading a Harden type for role players. I think that's not his MO. He might not get it from the Clippers, but I'm sure he's going to hold out as long as he can for a player of Paul George's caliber.
Well, and that's the interesting dynamic here, right? Because if there might not be anybody willing to give you that player.
Yeah.
Or you have to guess that there will be somebody, and he's trying to thread that needle where he doesn't want it to become ugly or whatever. And he doesn't. And by the way, just to go back to the Kawhi or Paul George thing, Kawhi's obviously a better player. I don't know why I would have more faith that Paul George would play than I would Kawhi.
Sure.
When I see him play, he doesn't like Kawhi looks cooked physically sometimes. Like I
really
remember what he looked like. And the other thing about Kawhi, and again, not that Paul George is like Mr. Culture or anything, but like the combination of Kawhi and Embiid is a very strange nobody talks to anyone, nobody hangs out with their teammates,
Sure,
kind of
sure.
weird bullshit. So
The Clippers have picks in 2025, 2027. This is firsts. 2025, 2027, 28, 29, 30. So there could be an amount of picks there where if both teams decide, if Daryl goes, well, I'm not trading Harden for Norm Powell, Covington, Marcus Morris, and a couple picks that are probably going to be bad, and the Clippers say we're not trading fucking Paul George for James Harden, then that introduces the idea of a third team where some of the Clippers stuff can go to that. Maybe the Sixers throw in somebody, and then somebody like, which is being talked about, Damian Lillard, which I feel like is unlikely, or Zach LaVine, which seems a little bit more likely, becomes a possibility. I would prefer in a world where it's Maxey and Harden going separate places and Dame coming back, or maybe both and Zach LaVine coming back, to just like we keep Maxey and Paul George comes. Obviously, I prefer that version.
Well, and by the way, the Lillard thing, I think more than any other player we're talking about, will depend on whether he wants to be here or not.
True.
Like, I don't think the Blazers are sending him here, and he's not mentioned if he doesn't want to be here, and he has not. Like, it's been Brooklyn and Miami mostly.
It's been Brooklyn, but there's been a couple of Philadelphia dark horse. There was a verbal slip up from Windhorst.
Yeah. Are you aggregating a slip up? I can't believe. Wow.
Can we aggregate on a podcast? I don't even know. He's aggregating us if he talks about it. Yeah, which I found was that I forget what he meant to say, but he said 76ers and then Sixers and then whatever word he meant to say.
Yeah.
I think he's just weird enough to be like trying to like hide clues in his little verbal tics. But yeah, so there's a lot of interesting stuff there. I just, knowing what we know about Daryl, I just don't see him trading a player of Harden's caliber, even at this stage of his career, even
for Norm Powell.
For Norm Powell. I just don't see it. And so I think there's a real chance something happens today. If not, I think that it could go a little bit. I guess I don't know what a backstop of that would be.
Right.
Because I don't see.
Well, it really just becomes camp. Well, and I think the other thing that becomes
training camp. You mean
yeah, and the other thing that becomes interesting in all of this is the Lillard situation, and if he does not get traded, I think a lot of the teams that we're talking about being interested in Harden would primarily be interested in Lillard and may wish to wait. So why don't we talk about the Knicks, who were also mentioned?
Yeah.
So I look at his numbers all you want. The Sixers cannot trade for Julius Randle. They cannot. I'm telling you, it wouldn't work in Philadelphia. I watch it up close. They can't do it.
Yeah. I didn't even consider that would be a possibility. Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's not a fit for sure. I was thinking it'd be because it was a suspiciously timed Josh Hart opt-in.
Oh, right.
It happened right along the time, like maybe a few minutes after the story broke, and I was surprised that he opted in. And maybe there's an extension coming at some point soon, but it seemed like Hart could have gotten more in the open market if he wanted to. I guess he likes being there is a possibility, but I was thinking I don't think it's for Jalen Brunson. I think the Knicks wouldn't do it. I think a Brunson Maxey situation is bizarre. Mostly, I think that the Knicks are being used as leverage. I don't think the Knicks are really real.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't really make sense. And every time there's any superstar type trade available, the Knicks are like, or the Knicks, and it's never happened really.
But, by the way, I do love like their extra guys or whatever, like the Obi Toppins and Quentin Grimes and Emmanuel Quickley. I love all those dudes, but like,
yeah, Quentin Grimes also. I'm not a Toppin guy, and Quickley is nice and also very good friends with Maxey. But I think an RJ Barrett, Josh Hart, and one of those other guys would be an interesting thing. I tried Barrett, yesterday hard to squint and make myself believe that RJ Barrett like actually could fill that like Jimmy Butler-y type role. Like he's big, he's strong, like he goes
He
to the
hasn't gotten
basket.
any better, man.
He
hasn't gotten
just
any
sucks.
better.
I was never an RJ Barrett guy. He can't shoot. He had one good shooting season, but it's a slow release. He doesn't have like any sort of sexy handle. There's no creativity there. He's not good on defense. He doesn't create any turnovers on the other end. He's not a good distributor. Like he's just pretty like as stiff as a 6'6" wing can be. Like he's a stiff, man. He's a stiff.
Yep.
He's not good. And they should regret signing him to that big contract. He was always I've never been a Barrett guy.
By the way,
so I can't be on board with that. But if that's someone that they get and then swing for a third guy, like I don't know. I see that there's some upside there. He is athletic and strong. And maybe the shot comes along the way that it has for Julius Randle, but I just don't believe it. He's young, at least you can tell yourself, but I think he's not close to ready to contribute to winning at a high level as like the third guy in between Embiid and Maxey, even though like the shape of him is right. Like if you could just have the shape of RJ Barrett with a better player, then that would be awesome. But
and by the way, he has games here and there which make you think he is, but it's shooting variance that makes you think that he's that guy. When you watch him, he is exactly the same player as when he came into the league. He's not better at anything now than he was then. And that you're right, that he would be fine he's not a Tobias Harris like player, but if you were paying him $12 million a year or $16 million a year, he would be a totally useful wing on your team. But you can't expect more than that. Before we get to the Suns, LL Pavorsky Jewelers, the original sponsor of the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast. Mike, as Ben from Kinetic sent me a text. So our Ricky 10-year anniversary stuff is being sold by Kinetic. And within 20 minutes of it going on sale, Ben sent me a note that LL had purchased like 10 T-shirts and 15 prints.
10.
Yes. He showed me the total. I was like, look, I respect Lee for like not asking me for a discount or anything. He just went right to the source. But
he's reselling them for more.
Oh, you think he's putting them like on the secondary market?
Yeah, definitely.
LL Pavorsky, the original first sponsor of the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast. Quite simply, if you're going to get an engagement ring, and over 330 Rights to Ricky Sanchez listeners have purchased them from LL, you cannot go anywhere but LL. And actually, the reason he gets all this Ricky stuff is that his Ricky customers, he like gives them free shit. By the way, if you haven't gotten anything free from LL and you're a Ricky customer, like, I don't know, you might want to nudge him, shoot him a text, something like that. In any case, he treats all of our customers excellently. He wants private sessions when you go in there and buy an engagement ring. He doesn't want a crowded store where you feel pressure. That's why he wants an appointment with everyone. If you need an engagement ring, you have to go to LL. And if you go to LL, you have to make an appointment. 215-627-2252 is the phone number. If you don't want to call him, I know you Zoomers, millennials don't like making phone calls. I know it. Send an email, lee@llpavorsky.com. Tweet at him at @llpavorsky, or all the ways that you can get in touch with him. And the store has been there for 35 years, 707 Walnut right there in Philly. If you're not close, it doesn't matter. He'll do it all, over Zoom or FaceTime or whatever you want. He's also a supporter of our charities, Providence Animal Center and Mama T's Community Fridge. LL Pavorsky Jewelers.
Better deals than a crumble cookie.
So the Suns situation, which, boy, talk about if doubling down on a guy that needs the ball, that they already have a few of them. But let's say they were interested. It would obviously involve DeAndre Ayton, and it would obviously have to be a third team. It would be very Hinkie-like for Daryl to just trade him for Ayton and pretend that Ayton's going to play here and see if anybody
can't do that. Can't do that. It didn't. That is the most upsetting thing. Obviously, when Hinkie did it, it was like, we don't care about winning. It doesn't matter. Yeah. Sort of what to a lesser extent, what Utah did with John Collins, where it's like, do these guys all work together? We'll see. They're players, and we'll figure it out, and then we can trade somebody in the future. But no, it's the Sixers are at a different place than that, and the concern with that, and the reason I don't think Phoenix is going to happen, even if they want him, is like, just don't know. They've been trying to trade Ayton for a while.
Yeah.
Who wants him?
Yeah.
Well, who really? I mean, Dallas now has like they just drafted the center of the future. Like, I don't see like a team that's willing to pay a premium. I could see teams like absorbing him and going like, yeah, maybe there's like number one pick upside left to untap when he's not around these other guys. Maybe he can become like a more, you know, more than average at some stuff.
Would you?
But I don't see many teams doing it.
Brian Windhorst did mention Kyrie.
No,
under
no circumstances. No, I mean, like if Harden has asked out of a couple places,
yeah,
and he's had like some justification for each of them, like this guy has just fucking blown up everything. Not to mention all the other stuff, and he's just like really ultimately, aside from the year he played with LeBron James in his prime, like he hasn't done it. Like he's got like fun, fancy ball handling and like a ton of problematic views, and he's gonna like he took off for his birthday a couple years ago. Like he's gonna drop a bomb on like everything. If this is like the I think you have to treat this like this is the last big move.
Yeah.
And it might not be the case especially if you're trading for parts and picks, you can like go over the future or whatever. But like, there's already the wheels of Joel Embiid is going to look around type thing are already in motion, and I don't think that that's true yet. But I think it certainly could be if this doesn't work out. You just can't be like, hey, our final move, Kyrie Irving. Like, it just can't be it, man. It cannot be the case. It can't. Guy just is not a guy you want to have around. And ultimately, he's just not that fucking good to deserve like the massive headache and certain doom that will come with it.
Massive headache and certain doom would be the biography of Kyrie Irving. The Pacers, Sixers Adam did a whole post on rightstotRickySanchez.com of possible destinations. The Pacers did offer Ayton a contract when he was a restricted free agent. There's the what's it called? Adam mentioned Buddy Hield and TJ McConnell, which is probably, if this is going to be your final trade, your final big trade, that's probably not the trade that you make.
In a Tobias trade?
No, in a 3-team Ayton trade, where Ayton has to wind up somewhere else.
Yeah, I don't think Ayton makes sense there either, because I think they like Miles as a rim protecting like 3-and-D center. Like, I think it's a good fit there. I don't think Ayton would make sense there either. I think if you can go get my perfect world, let's do perfect world.
Okay,
let's do perfect world stuff.
Already my perfect world, buddy. No James Harden next year. That is perfect. Is it? But okay, what is your perfect non-Paul George world? That's the world we're living in. The world we're living is Paul George or Kawhi, whatever. I would also accept, whatever. So Paul George and Covington for Harden and something, whatever, blah blah blah. Tobias to Indiana with Harrison Barnes re-signing with the Kings. They need like a power forward of today. They drafted Jarris Walker, who's really good, but was a freshman at Houston and is going to take some time to figure out, especially offensive stuff. And I think that they want to be good, and they will be pretty good. Indiana should be able to fight for a playoff spot this year because of how good Halliburton is. And I would do the Tobias for Buddy, TJ, and Dan Tice deal. Then you go Maxey, Buddy, Paul George, Tucker, Embiid. That's a really good lineup. There's defense, there's shooting, there's creation, there's Embiid. Like, that's a really good team that I think would have a really good chance of going deep into the playoffs. And then you have Covington off the bench. You probably let Niang walk if he's going to get something too much elsewhere. Would you rather have Batum or Covington?
Batum's probably the better player at this point, more versatile. He's probably the better defender at this point too, which is bizarre. But it feels more likely that the Clippers would not trade him.
Batum.
And it feels and it feels more likely that because Covington's been out of the rotation, and And would love to have Cove back. That's maybe me being a little sentimental, but
No, it would be great. Are you kidding? And TJ, you're getting Cove and
Cove
TJ back? Yeah.
Cove and TJ, I didn't forget about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And TJ just being like he's obviously not a versatile defender, but he's a sturdy one as a guard and could help, with creation and penetration and going to the basket and stuff and all that, just as a helpful tool there, I think would be good. That to me, that team with Dan House as a 3-and-D wing and Melton there, like that team is just makes sense. Role players and high upside stars, where you still have like growth in Maxey and that kind of stuff. And Embiid and Hield would be really nice on the same level that Embiid and JJ was, because it's just like a ton of movement. Buddy has gotten better as a passer and as a creator for himself. He's not just a catch and shoot guy. I prefer him to be doing mostly that, because he can take some bad shots when he's not. But he's at least like more versatile than I think the book on those kinds of just like catch and shoot guys are. And I think you need somebody like that in an offense when PJ Tucker is one of the least versatile offensive players in the league.
Okay. And do your
that's perfect word.
Your prediction, does PJ Tucker go with Harden wherever he goes? Or
no, I don't think so. I think he likes Embiid and he wants to play with Embiid. I could see him being traded. I don't think PJ is I don't think he's a negative asset with 2 years left in his deal at his age, but I don't think he's like a positive one either, maybe. And he just makes a lot more sense in a world where it's not him and Tobias as the 3-4, but there's somebody that can shoot a little bit, do a little bit more like a Paul George type. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm so wrong that Paul George is even possible. And if I was a Clippers fan, I certainly wouldn't be trading Paul George for James Harden. But the smoke of PG and Kawhi like not being available, not having exceeded even minimal expectations together with the Clippers in their run so far, and the fact that the contracts are up soon and they will want an extension and long-term security, getting out ahead of that for somebody that can at least pass, where that team was struggling in the same way that Boston a little bit struggled of like, there's no real point guard here to control tempo and run the offense, especially with Kawhi this late in his career and so many knee problems. I can trick myself into thinking that they could do it. And so that is what I'll be holding out hope for. And I think knowing Daryl, like that's, even if he thinks there's a 30% chance of them trading Paul George and them wanting to hold on to him as long as possible, you wait and see if Paul George goes like, eventually I'd play for Philly or fuck this. Like, you guys want to trade me? You guys want to give me this 4-year deal? Like, yeah, get me out of here. Sixers
by the way, then hopefully at that point, the Lillard gets traded or something. And then any team who wants a lead guard of that stature, obviously, I don't think Harden is as good as Lillard, but it does sort of, and Harden becomes, as you mentioned earlier, only on a 1-year deal. Now, look, you're potentially going into nonsense with him halfway through the year with him on a 1-year deal, but I don't know. But is there? And
that's the difference with him and Lillard, is that Dame has this coming year, and then 2 more years, and then a player option in 26-27 for $63 million.
No biggie.
When he's, I think, 37? 36, 37? That's
we'll all be dead by then.
Is trading for Dame is really starting to worry about that, but there could be teams that are, from a financial standpoint, more interested in 1 year of James Harden than 4 years of Dame. Just because, like today, like truly today, if that happens.
I'm instead of doing my perfect thing, I'm much better looking at it and saying what I think, because I'm not like a big trade machine guy. I will say that if they can get Paul George for him, just go get Paul George for him. If that's a reality, then you really, even though you're not going to be able to trade Harden and to, the point before about George is, same age and is hurt all the time, is like, well, you're trading a guy who's the same age and hurt all the time. Like, there's not going to be a perfect solution to this. And Paul George is about as best as you can expect, I think, for an opting in James Harden at this point.
Probably. I think Levine is, if depending on what the Bulls did, they just re-signed Vucevic. Who knows what is going on over there? But if they want to move Zach or DeMar
for Harden,
no, in a three team situation, where
gotcha.
some Clippers stuff would go to Chicago.
Got it.
It'd be, yeah. I mean, even Harden for DeRozan and stuff, would you do?
Well, I mean, it still puts them in a weird position without a point guard. Man, I would like to have, but maybe that's the Tobias trade, I guess. Man,
I think
DeRozan.
I think DeRozan fits in nicely in that sense. Also, he's obviously not as good as Paul George as an off-ball guy, but expiring contract, more reasonably priced contract.
Is it expiring? DeRozan's expiring. Okay.
So it'd be an interesting, it'd be an interesting one. And I'm not concerned because of Maxi's ability to play off ball and the defensive improvement we saw towards the end of last season, and what I'm hopefully projecting forward for him in the years to come. I just think you can go get a guy like Markelle Fultz, DeLon Wright, like bigger point guard types that you can play with. Melton is good and can do that a little bit, but he's not obviously as good of a ball handler as like Markelle is or something, not going to force the issue. There's those kinds of guys that you can get, whether they're bringing them off the bench as like the first guy off the bench or whatever, to help ease Maxey into that transition. But like, I just can't express how much of the host of complicated to bad options or like imperfect solutions. The one where we need Maxey to improve as a point guard, like that is so ideal compared to so many of the other ones, and I just trust the kid for sure.
Is there a Miami trade that you like?
No.
Okay.
I might trade Harden to Miami just to fuck with them.
Oh,
I could see that.
The Butler Harden thing. Oh my God.
That's not going to work. That's not going to work out super well.
No.
But no, I'm not really interested in a Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson. Like, I would mind Kyle Lowry here as a guard off the bench, but he's pretty obviously cooked at this point. As far as main, going forward helpful stuff. I thought he was pretty good in the playoffs, better than he was during the season. I wouldn't mind having him, but no, I'm not thrilled about any of those packages at this point. I think Daryl's going to hold out for a real, or a real star type player to replace Harden. I think that is the Daryl way.
Well, we shall see.
Also, the other thing, just to mention it, because as far as like why would Harden get traded or why would do this, he does get, I saw this reported, a 15% bonus if he gets traded, which would add $5.3 million to his thing. So if he's opting in with the trade, he's opting into a $37 or whatever $1 million expiring, plus the $5 million or so that he gets, $36 million expiring, plus the $5 million he gets if he gets traded. So that brings it up a little bit closer to what at least he probably would have gotten on a 1+1 or something, if you signed a free agent deal elsewhere. So you can convince yourself like that's why he opted in also. So there's some money to be had there, but we'll see, man. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on, and we'll get to the summer league roster soon. That's pretty high on my priority list. But I'm stuff could happen. Stuff could be happening right now. We're in an interesting spot, and I think no matter what happens, Harden opting in and asking for a trade is already like a very good result of the offseason. And I pretty much trust Daryl to get a guy that could come in and fit between Maxey and Embiid. I really hope Maxey's here. And play at, I'll look at what I did with Ben. I'll wait all season. I'll wait till the trade deadline. I'll wait up. But I definitely don't think he wants to, and I think that might be a bluff. I think especially with Harden, not a guy you want to go into the season with where he's either not trying, actively destroying the team from the inside, or not showing up. I think it's a different situation than Ben, and I don't think it's going to happen. But I think Daryl is right to be posturing like he is willing to do that because he's been willing to do that in the past.
Well, yeah, and I think, people will, because he has done it, people will think that he might do it, which is definitely a bullet to have in your chamber, that you the fuck around and find out sort of thing. I think is something that Daryl has earned for sure.
For sure, which is why it was embarrassing for the Wizards to trade their guys for almost nothing, just because they wanted it to end immediately rather than like hold out a little bit and try to at least get a pick for somebody, anything, to not get anything from those guys because, very recently your ownership allowed them to get a no trade clause. I understand why the new regime was just like, get this fucking shit out of here. Let's clear the books. But there is a little bit more pain for more of a beneficial solution if you wait. So I think Daryl's threat to wait will benefit him, whether that's today or later into the offseason.
Yeah, he certainly has the stomach for it.
Yeah.
Put it that way. He certainly has the stomach for it. All right. We will talk to you. Look, let's hope this podcast, we at least get like 6 hours out of it. I think that would be a win. We'll see.
Would be great.
Then I won't fuck with you.
All right. We'll talk to you next time. Are you down with TTP?
Yeah.
Then I won't fuck with you.
Lick face.
If you don't fuck with me, then I won't fuck with you.
If you don't fuck with me,
Then I won't fuck with you.
but if you fuck with me,
That's a plan B.